To meet you?
Josh. That's me.
Josh, I love that name. So is this everybody that's left? Am I doing an extra big class?
Yes, as far as I know, yeah.
All right. So why the hell do y'all want to do this? Oh my God.
I want to do it. I need to learn.
Oh, I like that. That's fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I used to change tires by doing with a hammer and chisel and pry bars and stuff.
I did some of that. I did. When I first
back in the day,
a tire changer literally was bolted to the concrete. There was a piece of steel that had a little bar that came up.
Yeah.
And what you would do is you would bolt the tire to it, and you would mechanically break the bead, and then you would you'd roll it over, break the bottom bead, and then you had a bar you stuck in, and you pull on it. And that's how we changed tires.
Yeah.
Woo, boy.
This is a lot better.
Hell yeah.
This is a lot better. So, okay, so now we've established that y'all are all crazy and you don't want to do this stuff for a living. Now, the honest to God truth is I've made a real good living in this industry my whole life. It's supported my families, and I think this is a great way to make a living. So, the first thing we got to do when we do tires is we got to break the bead off the rim, right?
Right,
sir.
So there's some things that we need to take into consideration. I mean, you can just roll it up there and start. But you can make your job simpler by understanding what's going on and getting ahead of the school. First of all, we have tire pressure monitors. Have y'all heard of those before?
Yes.
You have?
TPMS.
Did TPMS? Yeah.
Yeah, my car's got them.
Sir?
My car has them.
Good. Most everything after 2012 will. It was mandated that by 2012 everything needed to have them, and they do.
Mine don't.
So there's two types of tire pressure monitors. There's the one that's in the valve stem, and there's the banded monitor. A banded monitor was the early Ford versions, and what they did was they actually took a band, a steel band, and they strapped it to the inside the rim. Okay? And it was the early way they went about doing it. They still use some of them on some aftermarket stuff and whatnot. You just need to be aware that they exist. Here's the thing about banded monitors. If the person that put it on did it as you're supposed to do it, what's going to happen is it's 180 degrees from the valve stem.
Yeah.
Okay, so your banded monitor should be there. So if we don't want to break a valve stem, a monitor of any kind, the ideal way to do it would be to have your valve stem either at 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock. That way it doesn't matter what kind of tire pressure monitor we have, be it a banded monitor or the one in the valve stem, it's going to work just fine. We'll never break it. The second thing that we want to take into consideration is this. How do we want to mount the tire to the machine? You've got the inside-out method, which is these little prickly things right here. And what they do is you throw the tire up there and you hit the pedal, and they come out and they grab the rim. If you're working on a steel rim off a pickup truck or something like that, they work well. Not a problem. They're fast. No issues. If you're working on anything that's anything other than steel, you want to do it. Yeah, you want to do it from the outside in, and here's why. First of all, these little prickly things will make marks in the rim, and people get angry because they spent all this money on looking for one, and somebody put one in my rim. You see my little marks right there?
Yeah.
Okay? I loan this rim to people to practice with, and I get it back, and they just screw it up. This rim is actually cracked. That's why I forget where the crack is.
Oh, okay.
But it's a BMW M3 rim. Somebody hit a curb with it and broke it.
Oh, nice.
Reeves gives me stuff to do this with. And that's what this is. You would never want this on your car. It would be bad. But
is it steel or aluminum?
Aluminum.
Yeah, aluminum alloy.
Yeah.
So, okay, so first of all, we're going to nick the rim, and we don't want to do that. The second reason is that if you look at some General Motors rims, what they actually are is they're actually steel rims with a coating on it. Now, if you prick that coating, put those little dimples in it, and they go someplace where they get snow, and they put the chemicals on the road, salt and whatnot, it'll actually work its way in those little holes, and GM has a problem in that the inside of the rim just peels off. And now you got this giant, ugly, corroded thing, and y'all also need to be careful because it's real thin, and you're handling the rim, if you don't recognize it, it'll cut the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, you don't want to be cut by a corroded piece of steel. No. Bad juju.
Yeah, you could get a tetanus shot. I had to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the third thing is soft metal. And the reason they're soft metal is because if you're driving down the road and you hit something, you don't want your rim to shatter. You want it to deform a little bit, stays basically round. A byproduct of that, if we grab it by this and we're starting to wail away on that tire, it'll move slightly. So now you have a high spot in the rim, and when it goes around, it goes under the duck head, it's going to damage the duck head, it's going to damage the rim, all of that sort of thing. We don't want to do that, right? Okay. Sir?
So how do we grip it then from
Well, I'm getting there. So what I want to do is I had to take a sip of water. I've been talking a lot today. So what I want to do is I want to grab it from the outside in. So what we're going to have to do is have the best opportunity to grab this rim possible. There'd be no way to grab it right there because the tire is
edge,
right?
Yeah.
So the first thing we got to do is to establish which part of the tire is going down. And the way we're going to establish that is we're going to determine where the drop center is. You remember that word?
Yeah.
I'm telling
Drop
you,
center.
if you'll commit that word to memory, it will save your day. Every time you're having a problem getting a tire on or off of a rim, revert back. What did that little short fella say? What was it? It was the drop center. Oh my God! It's the drop. It's always the drop center. What I do for a living is go around and solve problems that people have, and people call, "Oh, your tire changer's not working right. I can't get this tire on or off." It's the drop center. Okay, I'm telling you. I don't have to come. But if you just go out and look for the drop center, that's the secret sauce. Yeah. So how are we going to figure that out? You see how there's a narrow part of the rim right there? You can see it? That's the drop center.
right here?
And if you look at rims, if y'all look at that one that I've got inside, it's backwards. It's actually on the back of the rim. Okay? And I can tell you that the vast majority of rims that come on the car from the manufacturer are the drop centers on the front.
Okay.
The ones that you get aftermarket, a lot of times they're on the rear, and the reason being is because they're trying to make the spokes give a certain look. And they want the front part of it that you see to be nice and smooth and flat. So they moved the drop center to the rear.
I was wondering why they did that.
Sir?
I was wondering why they did that.
It's for aesthetics. It's art. The rims now are art as opposed to being something that works well. It's to make the cars look good. So they don't. Go ahead.
So would you turn the tire upside down then? Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. We determine that before we break the bead. So when we get up here, we don't have to work hard. Okay. So in this one, the drop center's in the front, so I'm going to break it first.
So you break where the drop center is. You break that side first.
First.
If it's in the front. It's okay.
First, yes, sir. Now, where's my tire pressure monitor? It's right there. So I'm going to put it at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring this in. Now, when I'm doing this, breaking a bead can be a violent thing because you're pushing, all of a sudden it releases and it goes. So you really don't want to hang on to this. I've got it in place right now, so there's no reason for me to have anything on there but my finger.
So that's it?
See what it's doing? But sometimes it just goes
all the way through.
And what will happen is, okay, you're not going to change a tire. If you're going to work in a dealership or Firestone or Goodyear, you're going to change a lot of tires. Okay, what's going to happen is if you allow that to happen to you over and over and over, it wears your wrist, it wears your elbow, and it wears your shoulder. And it's called a repetitive action injury, and we just don't need it. Okay? Can you come back out? Oh, also, if you're not sure about where your drop center is, right, you can see it right now. So if you're unsure about where it is, when you're breaking the bead, double check. If you're wrong, there's no harm, no problem. But that's an easy way to figure out where it is.
So the drop center is always going to be like right behind that double bevel?
No, it could be wherever it is. Go look at that rim that I put on that desk in there, and it's the opposite.
It's further back, ain't it?
It's on the back. That's why I brought that rim, so you can see the difference.
No, okay.
So now, I'm a commission guy, right? I'm not working on the clock. I'm getting paid for what I accomplish. So I want to take every opportunity I can to speed up. So if I know that my valve stem is right here, and I want it at 6 o'clock, there I go. I'm at 6 o'clock. Don't take a lot of time. Okay, here we go. I know it's at 6 o'clock. If I just turn this wheel and put it back, I'm still at 6 o'clock. So I'm not taking a lot of time thinking about it.
Right.
I'm a commission guy. And I've always been a commission guy. I've never been anything but, so I understand where y'all are going to be. If I flip it, my valve stem comes right back up to 12 o'clock. I'm in. There. Now, I want to go from the outside in, and I want to be able to grab this rim. So my rim is pretty much exposed. Do you see how doing the side that I'm going to put down last, I'm taking less time to do this action over here? The order in which you do things creates a circumstance in which you work less and you make more money.
Yes, sir.
We want these to come out. And this is an 18-inch rim. You see how this table is calibrated 24, 22, 20, 18.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that right there, there's a little dimple right there which you can't see. Hang on. Don't do that. Bad juju. Let me just tuck it in. You know, you come to somebody's house and tear their stuff up and they get back, you know?
Oh yeah.
See that little dimple?
Yeah.
Okay, there's actually one over here. You can feel it, but what somebody's cleaned it with carburetor spray or something, and it's not there anymore. But it's there. 18-inch tire. This middle pedal right here that controls the turntable, the jaws. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to step it in a little bit at a time.
Get to where you want.
And I'm going to stop it at 18. And now when I lay this tire up on top of here, it's just in the right spot, so I'm not fighting it.
Yeah.
If you started with them all the way out and tried to catch it on the fly as it would come in, it'd be amazing. I mean, you'd be a world-class guy to be able to do that.
Couldn't it also damage the rim?
It can,
like
but it usually
sides?
doesn't.
Okay.
Now, there are, and Mr. Perez has them, there's little plastic covers that go over these.
Okay.
And if it were a reverse
Like bumpers
drop
or whatever.
then you'd want to use those.
Okay.
But in this case, we're going to do it on the back, so I'm just not going to bother with it. Okay, so now we're ready. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to put my rim up there, and I'm going to center it in place.
I think you called
Okay.
those bumpers.
Now, we're lucky on this one in that if I hit the pedal, it would grab the rim. You're not always going to be that lucky. Sometimes the tire will have reseated itself, moved into place and whatnot. So I'm going to give you a tool. What are we going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to press it in place. So now I'm pushing the rim down and the tire staying up. So I'm going to hit my pedal, in we go,
It's on.
and we got it. I think. What do you think? You think so? Let me tell you something. I'm a salesman, okay? I'm the man. I go out and do demonstrations for dealers and all kinds of important people.
Yeah.
I know my stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
So one time, I did this very demonstration, and I began to remove the tire, and the rim went in front of a guy with a coat on, okay, a suit and tie.
Yeah.
Very embarrassing.
Yes.
What I had done was, one of these little clamps down here didn't catch. And I was too cool to get down there and look. So the result was the rim came off.
Oh.
You know, I made the sale anyway. I'm that good. High five.
Pretty good.
But look, because if it comes off, I was fortunate enough that it come off and went away from me and them.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
it could have come and got me or them or you. So I would suggest that you check. It's kind of a big deal. Have questions?
So
All
far,
right. So far, so good.
The next thing that we're going to need to do is talk about where you want your tire pressure monitors when you when you're taking the tire and wheel off. Okay. So I've got a little something I want to talk to y'all about, and I need some help. I need somebody who's capable of saying yes. Can you say yes?
I can say yes.
Good. I like that. Look, I'm really not playing with myself a little bit. Really, I swear.
pretty yes.
Come on. Got too much stuff.
Dang.
Well, normally
Got a stack.
Normally it would be different than this, but okay. You like coffee? Okay, here we go. The answer to everything I'm going to ask you until further notice is yes.
Okay.
Can you do that?
I can do that.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. You like coffee?
Yes.
I like coffee. You ever go to 7-Eleven and get coffee?
Yes.
Yes. You know they got this Colombian blend, and they make it only in the afternoon. They don't have it in the morning too much. Colombian blend. You need to, next time you go, you need to try. Put a little vanilla in it. It's good stuff, don't you think?
Yes.
So, okay, not the answer to the next question is not yes. Based on the conversation that you and I just had, if I took you out to coffee, where would we be going for coffee?
7-Eleven for
7-Eleven,
for
for
ice
sure,
cream,
right?
yeah.
You agree? So where do you get coffee? 7-Eleven.
Yes, 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
Everybody gets into 7-Eleven. I think I'm the best advertiser 7-Eleven has ever had. So let's talk about 7-Eleven. Why did I come up with that stupid little thing? The reason being is because my duck head is going to come down right here, and we're going to call this 12 o'clock, okay? When I'm going to take my tire off, my tire pressure monitor is going to be at 11.
Okay.
When I'm putting my tire back on, my tire pressure monitor is going to be at 7.
7-Eleven.
So if you're wondering where to put your tire pressure monitor, what's the question? Where'd you get your coffee this morning, right? I know that sounds stupid as shit, but I'm trying to figure a way to make people remember what we're talking about. And this is the best outcome. Incidentally, if y'all come up with a better story, this one's pretty wore out and I could use a new story. But anyway, so it's 7-Eleven, right? All right, easy enough. The next thing we want to talk about is this little device right here. When you begin to talk about this right here, we set this for the width of the rim, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, suppose that the last rim that he did on here was an 8-inch wide rim, and he left it when he got done, and you came in and it was a 10-inch wide rim.
Yeah.
What would happen when you stepped on that pedal and that thing came around? It would crash right into the rim and tire, and it would damage something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask y'all, when you get done with your 8-inch rim, simply take and release it, let it go up, it's out the way. When you come with your 10-inch rim, you need to check and make sure he did what he's supposed to do and release it. That way we'll never have a problem. What's another situation in which that may be a problem? Suppose you had a Dodge Hellcat. The back rims are 10 inches wide, the front inch rims are 9 inches wide. Yeah. So you do your 9-inch wide front end rims first, and now you bring your 10-inch wide. Oh, it's a ghost. Actually, I did that. I think we're running out of air. I think something's going on with the compressor today.
I can hear it running.
Yeah, but I think it gets really low before it comes back on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you put your 10-inch wide rim on,
yes, sir.
and you had them 9 inches, and it comes down and crashes into the rim. So every time that you think about setting up, you need to make sure you got the right rim.
So every time you bring this back up, the computer, like, if it has a computer, resets it to be
it's mechanical, but yeah, you're the computer in this case.
Okay.
You got to reset it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my tire pressure monitor around to 11. I'm going to bring my duck head down, put it in place. Remember we talked in class about an air gap?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this thing down right here. I'm going to pull it in place. You see my little apex of my duck head right there? I'm going to do that. Now watch what happens. When I push this button, you see how it rises up and goes back?
Yeah.
So it automatically sets the air gap for you.
Okay.
But it's a general purpose distance, okay? There's tires that are real easy to do and tires that are real hard, and it's somewhere in the middle. So what I'm going to tell you right now is think about the amount of stress that a low-profile sidewall, a run flat or something like that is going to put on it. It's going to pull all this forward when we put that pressure on.
Yeah.
So in this case, what I would tell you that I would do is I'm going to add a little bit of air gap to that to allow for the difficulty of the tire. This tire is a more stressful tire. Let's add a little extra air gap there so that it's not pulled into the rim. You see this little plastic piece right here?
Yeah.
That's to protect the rim from the duck head and the duck head from the rim.
Right.
If we did our job right, that would last forever because you'd never touch it.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to add whatever air gap we need based on the type of tire we're dealing with. Make sense?
Yep.
Questions? Really? No
Yeah.
questions? I'm not freaking good. Here, pat me on the back. Yeah. Okay, I'm not good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to put it in place. Now, suppose that this tire had seated itself back up when we were trying to break the bead, because a lot of them will. What do we do then? We're not going to be able to get that down in there. We're going to use our tools. We're going to bring our bead sealer down, and I'm simply going to take and I'm going to push the tire down. Now we can bring our duck head down, put it in place, pull it in. I want a little extra air gap. We'll put that in place. If the tire were up, that would be your way to go. Ooh. Now, we got the bead lever. On the older machines, we would actually pull the bead and pull it over. On this machine, we have one that's built in. Okay? So what I did is I just let it go in. Now I'm going to let this come back up. And you see how it grabbed the bottom of the bead? They won't always do that. Some of them do, some of them don't. If it doesn't, then what I'm going to want to do is I'm simply going to want to rock the tire a little bit and it'll go ahead and drop in. On a very easy tire, you won't have to do any of this. On a very easy tire where the sidewall is lots of give, You just flip it down. While the tire is moving, it'll drop right in place. No problems. Questions?
It's pretty neat.
Okay.
Is that gap always going to be the same, or is that the gap that we talked about?
Air gap?
Yeah.
It'll always be the same initially, but it depends on the tire and how stiff the tire is and how much pressure it's pulling in. Because think about this mechanism right here has to support all of that pressure. So the more pressure, it's going to squeeze your air gap, and that's why I'm saying with a more difficult tire, just add some back to it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when the tire needs to come up here, it's got to give someplace, right? I mean, we can't just stretch the tire. So what are we going to do? What's the magic word that we talked about?
Drop center.
Thank you.
The drop center, yeah.
Thank you. So the tire needs to end up in the drop center here in order for it to come up there. Now, if I pull up on that lever right there and it pulls that up, it would eventually pull it in. But I can tell you right now that by pushing this down a little bit into the drop center, a couple of things are going to happen. It's going to release the stress on the tire. It's going to relieve the stress on the rim. It's going to relieve the stress on this gear set up in here, all this mechanism. So let's go ahead and give it that advantage. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull that up, and I'd like you to watch the tire. The entire tire is going to move horizontally. Watch. See what it did? It all moved in that direction. Now, not all of them are going to drop into your drop center like you'd like it to.
Yeah.
So on a very difficult tire, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to press down a little bit. Come over here. I'm going to press it in my drop center. This would happen to fall in, but I'm going to tell you right now that on a difficult tire, it's advantageous for you to relieve as much stress as you possibly can. Okay? Good? Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. The next thing we're going to need to do is get this off. And I'm a little far away with my tire pressure monitor. I was talking and not paying attention like I should be. Incidentally, in the field, y'all should be paying attention to what you're doing. This tire is so stiff that it'll reseat itself as it comes around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a traction point. Okay? I'm going to slip that in there like that, and I'm going to come around, and what it basically does is, see what it's doing? It will reseat itself. So I'm going to come around with this, and I'm going to let the tire come on off. Now, this is the time when the vast majority of people break the tire pressure monitors. They remember it on the top bead, and remember it should be at 11 o'clock, but they bring the tire around, and they go to grab their bottom bead, and they forget, and they leave it here. Think if the tire moved in that direction, it would just rake right across that tire pressure monitor and break it. We don't want
Right off, yeah.
So, we're going to move it back, and you can go in either direction, it doesn't make any difference. We're going to go back to 11 o'clock. And then we're going to take and just pull this tire up, like hold it up here. I can't do that, okay? You big guys, longer. I can't. God didn't build me for that. God built me to look good and go fast, you know? So I've got an alternate method. I'm going to bring my, I'm going to bring this roller over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it down, and I'm going to lift this side of the tire up, and about where do I want that tire to end up? What center do you think that I would like that to line up with?
Drop center.
The drop center.
Drop
Thank
center,
you very
yeah.
much. Now I can come over here, and I can hold it with one hand, drop my tool, and I got it. See how much simpler that is? Now, I'm telling you, a taller man like yourself,
Yeah.
y'all can't
Be
do
a little
that.
easier, yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's a lot more work. And I don't know why you big giant guys want to work harder just because you're big and giant, you know? Us
Good
little
exercise.
fellas, my knees are still in good shape. My feet are in good shape. You big guys, when y'all get to be my age, y'all are a mess, you know? That's one way to get that tire off of there. And I'm going to tell you with the simpler tires, it's a great way. It's really fast. But there are tires out there that are very difficult, and this isn't going to work very well. So I'm going to give you an alternate method, okay? Let's say, just for the sake of conversation, that you get a 16.5 or a 19.5 or a run flat or something along those lines, okay? So in those cases, it's just difficult to get this right here to work. So I got an alternate method for you. And if y'all can come around here and look for just a second, I'll show you what it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down, and I want to touch the top of the rim with that roller right there. And this will lock in place. You see how it locks in place? I want my tire pressure monitor to be underneath that, so I'm going to bring that around. Okay, now I'm going to lift the tire a little bit and pull it in the drop center over here. And I'm going to pick it up. Now, if y'all come back over here, please. I know it's a lot of running around, but it's worth it. You see how my disc is peeking up above my rim right there?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock it. I'm going to pull it in. I'm going to relock it. And am I touching my rim? I am. Remember, we want an air gap. Put a little air gap in it. Now I'm going to walk the tire right off of there. And if you've got something like a
Wow, that is
16
so
valve,
easy.
a run flat, something like that, you're going to think you died and went to heaven. Because this one over here, it's just such a fight to get them off.
Yeah, imagine.
19.5s takes forever. That way to do it right there, it just stops it. And you can see where my drop center is. See how my drop center is at the top? Balconies. Next thing I want to talk about is lubrication. I would tell you that we want to lubricate all the way to this outer band right here because we want it to not, we want it to seat completely into the rim. Have y'all fooled with the road force balancer yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, what the road force balancer looks at is the tire round? Not only is it balanced, but is it round? So if it doesn't seat completely into the rim, do you think it's going to be round?
No.
Not likely, huh? So by making sure that it seats all the way into the rim, to do road force, so you're going to take and you're going to put it on there, it's going to tell you this tire and rim are out around, mark the tire here, mark the rim here, put it back on your tire changer, rotate the tire on the rim. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you can avoid it by simply lubricating the tire entirely, it helps. Point 2, if it tells you to, remember I talked in class about this stuff stops being slippery and starts being like a glue?
Yeah.
Okay? Suppose that tire's been sitting on the side for a half an hour or so, and you put it on there and you, and you decide you need to move the tire on the rim, do you think it's going to reseat in completely?
No.
So if you don't lubricate it, what's going to occur is it's going to tell you to rotate the tire, and your road force reading is going to go up. It's actually going to be more out of round because the glue is now making it so it's just not seating into the tire.
Yeah.
And something I said in class about it being the proper way is to mount your tires, drive it, 2 heat cycles, and then come back and balance them, and that's why, because it seats the tire into the rim completely. And if you're having a problem, I'll tell you something else. Before y'all balance tires, you never want to grab a tire out in the lot that's been sitting for a half a day and bring it in and balance the tires, because the tires aren't round.
Yeah.
The tire's got a real high nylon content, and you'll get terrible readings. We talked about the patterns. If you look on here somewhere, it's going to talk about, see this right here where it says rotation? Okay, that tells you what side of the car it needs to face, okay? The rotation is this way, so if it's going on this side of the car, you need to have that mounted so that it does. But you can always look at the tread, and you can have a really good idea about what's going on, because you want that water moving to the outside of the rim. I didn't mean to poke it. I'm expressive, you know? So now we're going to put it back on. So where do we want our tire pressure monitor now?
7 o'clock.
Center.
Thank you. Say it again?
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. That's where I get my coffee every day. You know, I walk into shops. I'll just walk in and I'll yell at the guys, "Where'd you get your coffee this morning?" And they're 7-Eleven, you know? And I get a big kick out of that. Okay, some of you guys, you big guys in particular, will just take this tire and shove it right on the rim. God bless you if you can do it. It's a time saver and it's what you should do, okay? I can't do that. So, you see where the tire crosses the rim right here?
Yeah.
Traction point? See it right there?
Yeah.
What you want is, you see your tire pressure monitor? You want your tire pressure monitor ahead of where it crosses the rim right there.
Oh, okay.
I say 7. I
So
say
don't
7
pinch it.
o'clock, sir?
So it doesn't cut into it?
I say 7 o'clock because I need to have something for y'all to remember.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, if your crossover is behind the tire pressure monitor, you're going to be okay. That's really the secret sauce. But I can't think of a point for that either. You know, how would you say, "Hey man, would you cross over behind the valve?" No, that doesn't work. You know, so here we go. We're going to put it on, and it comes back. We've got to make sure we move it back, right? Because it's bottom bead and top bead, and we're going to go over. Now, if you're working on one of those 75 series tires, take your hand, push it down, and go. Okay. All of these things are tools in your toolbox. Y'all have toolboxes, right? Yes, sir. When you go to work on a car, do you gather all the tools out your toolbox and walk over and go work on the car? You grab what you need. All of these things that you see are that. You only use what you need. If you don't need it, don't use it. So we're going to bring this back around. On this tire, we need them all.
Could that cut a tire if you put it in the wrong angle?
Yeah, it never has.
Never has.
I guess you could figure out a way to do it. But so far, so good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring these out, and I want to set these up so that, think of this as a funnel. And what are we trying to funnel the tire into?
The center. The drop center.
See that word keeps coming back around?
Drop
Holy
center.
cow. You know? Holy cow. It's amazing. I don't know who figured that word out, but they're sure my hero. So we're going to bring this down, and we want it to funnel into the drop center. Now, this one right here stays put. This knob right here has to do with tire diameter. The bigger the tire it is, the more it's going to come around simply because it grows in diameter.
Right.
This one right here goes around with the tire and pushes it down in the drop center. Okay? So this one stays put because it makes it so that the tire doesn't jump back up on top of the duck head. This one follows it around. I've got my tire paste on there, and here we go. We're going around. Now let's see. Is it dropping in the drop center? Mm-hmm. Not really very well. Go down a little bit.
There you go.
Did it go in the drop center there?
That's
So now we're coming around.
Makes it a little easier.
Sir?
Dropping in the drop center makes it easier.
I'm telling you, it's the answer to all the world's problems. It's the drop center, you know?
It almost is if you theoretically think about it.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
How long would it take to do a whole set like this?
I can do them fast. I mean,
Oh, you don't do it fast?
No, probably 5 to 7 minutes per wheel.
That's
That's what I figured.
That's pretty good.
5 to 7. And I'm estimating. I'm
That's
old
probably-
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
a young
probably-
guy, I mean, you could beat me terribly. You know, I know you could.
Oh shit, Danny's 70.
Is he? Okay, now let's think about what we got here for just a minute. We're stretching this tire, son. Would you agree?
Pretty good. Yeah. 70.
And what I equate it to is a bow and arrow. When you pull that bow back, you're storing energy in the bow, right?
Yeah.
Aren't we doing similar things here?
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah.
So at this point, I've gotten the drop center. I would probably try and release some of that pressure, a little bit, because the least amount of pressure we can have, that's what we're seeking, right?
Right.
Right.
And we're going to go around.
So you don't break the bead.
Right. Now, I'd like you to think about something. As I go around, watch my bead, and what you're going to see, you see how it continues to move when I stop?
That's good.
It is.
Yeah, because that means that you don't have as much pressure on
We
there. If you
release
had
it.
too much pressure, it wouldn't be able to move.
If you get a tire, and you can hear them, they're going, "Rrrr," you know, just stop. Give it a minute. And what you'll see in a lot of cases is they'll just move around on their own, and once they do, go watch that. See it move?
Yep. Slipping right into place.
Yeah.
You know where it's going to go, don't you?
Look at there.
To the drop center.
No, we're going to the balcony now. What's
You
your
go to
close?
the balcony? Okay, I
Thank
thought-
you.
Yeah, the balcony's
Thank
at the
you. You
top,
made my
man.
day.
I'm thinking.
You made my day. You are.
The bead line, right where the bead line would be.
But what I'm getting at is where people destroy things is hurrying.
Yeah.
And I mean, now with those tires over there, you can hurry. Okay, they'll go really fast because they're so soft and pliable.
Right.
But in a case like